Hi everyone, it's Arielle and it's Wednesday Warriors, and today I'm going to be covering the topic, how do I recover when I don't fit the usual diagnostic criteria for eating disorders? The reason I am covering this topic is because for some reason people think that if they don't fit themselves into a certain category, they're not worthy of help, and they also think that no one's going to help them. And I know that on some level, this is true. For example, being able to get into specific inpatient programs, or having a specific diagnosis so that insurance will cover you. I know it's a really tricky thing, and sometimes there's no way to get around it, and I know a lot of people feel they're not sick enough because they're somehow not sick enough to get the same amount or the same kind of help that someone else might be able to get. But you don't have to fit yourself into a specific criteria, just to be able to tell yourself that you have an eating disorder. There are plenty of things out there that people have that they need to get better from, that there's no specific diagnosis for, there's no specific name for, and they're just as worthy of help as anyone else is. Okay, but so the question was really, how do I recover if I don't fit specific criteria? Well, you recover how you would recover from anything, You have to get to learn yourself, and you have to try to figure out what's wrong. You don't have to label something in order to figure out what's wrong. You don't have to give it a certain name. You don't have to quote-unquote qualify. For an eating disorder, it is what it is, and you can call it whatever you want, but it's just a name, essentially. So what it really comes down to is trying to figure out what emotions surround what you're feeling, what problems are at hand that your eating disorder is stemming from, why do you turn to your eating disorder. There's also no reason why you can't get some kind of professional help for having eating problems or an eating disorder. If you don't know what your specific diagnosis is, plenty of therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists will see you. I mean, you don't have to be called something. You can just say, I would like to come talk to someone, and pay the fee and have sessions, and they can diagnose you if they see fit for insurance purposes or for medical purposes for your general doctor, but it's not a qualification, and you just say, I need to talk this out. I have problems with food, or I have problems with weight, or whatever it might be, and you're certainly worthy of help. Number one, I would say write things down, because you'll get to know yourself by keeping a journal or writing things down in a notebook, whatever it might be. And it's something that's necessary, because you can't just sort of wing it. You can't go into recovery thinking, okay, I'm recovering now. You have to have a sort of sense of purpose. You have to have a willingness to figure out what's happening with you, what has happened with you, where you want to go. You don't necessarily have to know every little thing about eating disorders or about your own eating disorder. You just have to know where you want to go. You have to know where you want to be. What's your goal? Keep that goal in mind. Write it down 100 times, whatever it takes. And that's what you have to keep in your mind through all of this. I mean, as far as criteria is concerned, criteria is nothing. Criteria is words on a page. And I know that fitting certain criteria can be helpful. I know that that's very true, but you can't let some person or some people in the medical field determine how you're going to help yourself, because that's the fact of the matter. You can help yourself. You don't always need to rely on criteria and medical descriptions and people in the medical profession. I know it can be very helpful, but surround yourself with people that will help you out, will back you up, family, friends, whoever you have in your life that you trust, a spouse, a therapist, a counselor, whoever that person or those people might be. You need to surround yourself with them and see what they can do to support you through all of this. There are a lot of resources out there that are not criteria-based. There are support groups, of course. There are websites for eating disorder recovery organizations like NEDA, ANAD, just to name a few. If you go on to, for example, anad.org, ANAD.org, just because that's the organization that I'm affiliated with, I'll use it. If you go on to anad.org, you can find a ton of resources. You can find individual people to call. You can find a hotline. You can find support groups in your area. You can find therapists. You can find a whole bunch of different professionals. It's not about criteria there. It's about trying to get you the help you need. And if you're afraid to go it alone, you can always call that hotline or search the numbers there for resources that are near you, and have someone on the phone and talk to them and see what they think would be the best thing for you to do. See what kind of advice they can give you as far as that's concerned. So websites, organizations, that's a source, as well as groups. It's not all about hospitals, and sometimes people might need hospitalization, and I know that it can be very helpful. But if you're worried about criteria, there are definitely other avenues that you can follow. If you want recovery badly enough, you will do it. You will check all the resources. You will ask around. You will get help wherever you can. And if you have questions about specific resources or questions about specific forms of help, post a question here, and if I can answer them, I will be happy to. If others on the collaboration can answer them, I'm sure they would be happy to. And if we don't know something, I'll be happy to look it up and see if I can get you the answer in some way, shape, or form. I don't want anyone to feel alone. This is a very lonely disease. Having an eating disorder is no picnic, no pun intended, and it's something that you can recover from. You have to remember that recovery is possible, and that has nothing to do with criteria, guys. The last thing that I wanted to say regarding this question is meeting a certain criteria doesn't make you better than anybody else, and in that respect, not meeting a certain criteria doesn't make you any worse than anybody else. It's not a contest. It's not a comparison. It shouldn't be. I know it's very hard to remember that, but criteria is just crap. It's nothing that you should worry yourself about. There are so many things you can be doing for yourself besides worrying if you're fitting criteria. And I just want you to know that numbers are just numbers, and in the same way that I always say, you're not a number, a person is not a number, you're not a category either, you're not criteria, you're not this or that. You're a person, you're you, you're the only you that's out there. And if you want to recover from this, whatever it is that you have, or whatever it is that you don't know that you have, if you don't know a name for it, and you still feel badly, you still have a problem, you know something's not right, there's hope for you, okay? I hope you guys have a great week.